2026 is gonna reveal some of the new big faces in marketing, advertising, and they're not gonna be copywriters, and they're not gonna be direct response business owners. They're gonna be regular people, women at home raising children, men at home raising their children, people living their lives, doing their jobs, and making a living just talking about the stuff that they use to do their best jobs. I heard last night on TikTok a shop creator talking about all the equipment he uses, like this light right here. It this light. It is the best light. And this creator kills it selling these. And I think they're like $10 commission, so $10 per sale, and moves hundreds a day easily. And that is just an example of somebody living their life who needs good lighting in order to do what makes him a living and is selling the shit out of him by making genuine review VSLs, creator VSLs. Now, you've heard me talk about this before, but they keep changing. The tonality is the biggest difference. So I'm going to show you a few examples of just my stuff. And this is stuff that has made money, could have made more. And let's see if you pick up on it. Let's start with this one.
You can't regrow knee cartilage, but this device and the science behind it proves you 100% can.
So there's the first 6 seconds. Should have shortened that a little bit or talk a little bit faster. That is one of the things that people do. They pick up the pace in the way that they talk so that they're able to get a lot of things in fast. It has to be clear, congruent, and authentic. Here's the thing about this video. My tonality goes too high. It hits too low. We don't need to go after the punch in the gut bullshit anymore. You can tell Chris Haddadi's free to retire and stop talking. The big difference here for copywriters and business owners is understanding the difference between overselling and underselling. Being super casual and almost not interested in what you're talking about, but still excited to share it within this very small range is what sells. And it feels counterintuitive to direct response copywriters, to direct response business owners, to be so subdued. Let me keep playing this and then I'll show you some contrast.
If you have knee issues, doctors won't tell you about ACI therapy unless their hospital offers it, unless they believe you can afford it or know that your insurance can help you cover it.
So the hidden enemy type feel there, and quite frankly, smoking gun a little bit, is what made that video work. That's what made that video get about, I think, 1 million views and do some really thousands of sales. So the hype feel can still work, but this is just like a week ago, and the tonality has across the board on the platform come down huge. So just to give you a different flavor, here's one I did this morning, and then I'll show you two more just to flesh out the tonality conversation because this is really critical to get. And again, creators are using all the same heuristic direct response stuff that we've been using forever. And most of them don't even know it or know what it's called. Some of them do, but very few do. What's shared on calls only hits the tip of the iceberg in terms of what most senior copywriters know or most seasoned direct response owners, offer owners know. And yet they're outperforming. So this is really important stuff, and it's really important to drop the ego at the door. Here's from this morning.
I woke up and you can see this cortisol face is really, really affecting me. I was up until 3 o'clock in the morning, got horrible sleep, and it triggered lupus. And you can see it makes me look 10 years older. And we both know that's not an exaggeration.
I'm being raw. I'm being authentic and vulnerable. I genuinely woke up and looked in the mirror and was just like, holy, whew, that's rough. And I legit, as you'll hear, if I played that far, I legit had a rough night. Just SSRI weaning stuff. If you haven't ever had to wean off of SSRIs, and for me, it's been 2 years. If you haven't ever had to do it, it's not anything anybody needs to go through. But this video demonstrated, and if you go back to the beginning, the visual hook is how I genuinely look just minutes later. So let me play that again.
So I woke up and you can see this cortisol face is really,
So
really
that gives the
affecting me. I was
dopamine,
up.
right? To see what happened, to want to know what happens in the end. And that also gives you the patience to go through it to see how it unfolded.
Until 3 o'clock in the morning, got horrible sleep, and it triggered lupus. And you can
Jump
see
ahead.
getting rid of this lymphatic build slipperiness
What I
on my
what I
skin
use.
fluid. So this just suctions right on. And because I have the beef tallow, it suctions. So
So just basic QVC style demonstrative, but it's doing the very subdued monotone selling, non-selling. And it does feel counterintuitive as somebody who has really, laid the hype man shit on thick in many instances in my career. So it feels weird.
and this is where the surface, and but that's in the bathroom. I'm not gonna get up. But they are amazing, and it really does work. With a smaller one, which I use, obviously just stick it right in the stocking. It also comes with this makes helping move
I want you to
the
see the
stuck
CTA.
fluid. I got it linked. This
There it
makes
is.
an incredible Christmas gift too. I mean, obviously, just stick it right.
So, I mean, you see I'm extremely subdued and then get to the end. Oop.
And it really does work. It really does help. And so just a few minutes later, you can see that my face looks a lot more deflated. And that's the power of facial cupping, y'all.
So the tone never hits those peaks that we used to think was so necessary. This is just real talk, no script. I sat down and I kind of had an idea of where I was going to start, but I mean, just it was just the visual of how swollen that was from all the lymph and just how radically morphed my face looked.
So I woke up and you can see.
Right. So the contrast there of seeing the before and after in the same shot, and that's legit minutes later, right? That's the dopamine that will sell this. That's it. And so when you try to hit hard and you really go after the CTA and the scarcity, urgency, it doesn't necessarily help. In fact, it more so hurts most of the time. That's really critical if you're a copywriter to get and you want to work with the top brands that are going to be making buku bucks. And then therefore, if you do your job, you get paid really well, commissions, I'm sure. Let's see another one. This was from yesterday.
Bottled water really better than tap water? Let's test it and check it out.
So visual hook is walking through the water aisle at the grocery store while talking about, is it worth buying or is your tap water good enough? Simple. We're going to test the parts per million of these. And you can see a little bit more hype voice here. Popular waters against Portland City water. Let's check it out. Anything that turns red above 50. I'm still mostly maintaining my creator review voice.
Is considered toxic And you don't want to drink that. So let's see what happens. Let's start with smart water. 25. Next is Crystal Geyser.
And again, I have all the scenes, frames mapped out in my mind. You know, like this section is going after the hidden enemy, right? Bottled water. Is it really worth your investment? That I could go after the regulatory positioning point, which is tap water has higher regulations than bottled water. Most people don't know that. They think bottled water has higher regulations. It's not true. It's not even remotely true. So there's the smoking gun, right? So I know that's the element, but the way that I talk about it, it could be just as simple as this. Did you know that the FDA doesn't have any regulations on bottled water? Or no, that's not true. Did you know the FDA has minimal regulations on bottled water? Did you know the FDA has higher regulations on tap water than this bottled water? Right? That's UX. Different ways of saying the same thing in different ways to get different people's telling the same story to raise their hands. And that's what makes these things effective, right? So I get to the tap.
35. It is amongst the lowest.
Second.
If you want to know,
It was the second lowest of all the water, and it was significantly lower in parts per million toxicity than most of them. So if you know how to use a product and you genuinely use it, like I'm genuinely curious about this shit because we're made of water. Another positioning point: the water you put in your body matters because you're made of it. So I do have another video. I'll just show you. I forget which one. I think this is another knee device.
is exactly how I avoided MCL, ACL, and bone-on-bone knee replacement surgery.
There's the value proposition, probably 4 to 5 seconds, 6 at the tops. And you get the whole idea of what you would be watching the video for. So hitting that deeper core.
Knee device uses NASA-inspired red light technology.
So NASA inspired, that can sell some, that can turn some people off. In this case, it sold more than the negative comments mattered.
To help the ACL, MCL, meniscus, and cartilage slip plate repair themselves faster. It uses 850 nanometer near infrared light to help recharge the chondrocyte cells to make new cartilage and recoat the slip plate. It also uses 660 nanometer, which helps get fresh blood and oxygen.
So a little more hype, a little more copy, a little more of the sales guy. That's from a few days ago. You know, so I'm constantly evolving. And that's the thing. As you look towards 2026, how are you going to evolve? You got to pay attention to what's really working and what the big brands are moving towards. That's where you're going to find opportunities, market gaps, and ways to make a lot more money faster, more authentically. If you're a copywriter, don't listen to anybody who's telling you, oh, let me back up. A lot of the people teaching copy are really young and don't know this stuff. They wouldn't be able to tell you this stuff, and yet they're teaching you. So be discerning. If it feels weird about what somebody's teaching you, like, oh, you could break the rules like this, pay attention to the way you feel and start paying more attention to what I'm talking about here. Questions, let me know in the comments. Please subscribe and like, and let me know what you want to see more of.